All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We will get started with the Q&A, and we will start with Ry Rivard with Politico. Ry.
Thank you. You got some New Jersey commissioners. What is New Jersey looking for in the future of the Port Authority right now?
What is New Jersey or the New Jersey commissioners? I missed
New Jersey commissioners. There's a new sort of change in the guard. You see some more things trying to get done?
We're up to a full complement of commissioners on the Jersey side for the first time in many years. We're very excited about that. I've worked with Joe Kelly as a deputy chief. I've worked with George Helmy as chief of staff, and I've worked closely with Mayor Bowledge and his other title. I will tell you, they bring an exciting dynamic and exciting different levels of experience and background. So they are diving in. We've had orientation with them. We've had briefings with them with regard to some of the top priorities with the Capitol, with the current structure of the finances. I think today they fully got a measure of what the board is about. George Helmy commented that for the first time, as opposed to just being a staffer for Senators Lautenberg or Booker or for the governor, he's actually on the front line as the individual who just swore the oath and now is responsible for making the tough decisions. But all three are very excited, and we're excited to have them and to capture their energies going forward. As a matter of fact, yeah, Vice Chair, you want to add to that?
As the senior New York commissioner, I've welcomed everyone. We're excited. It does bring a lot of diversity in terms of knowledge, finance, politics, political savvy. I can go on, but we're really excited to have them, and we're happy to work across the river with them.
And I just want to add to that, we also had, I don't know if you saw the start of the meeting, we had a farewell to the Commissioner Dana Martinotti, who brought an energy and expertise on cyber and security. She's going to be missed, much like the Commissioners Menendez and Pacino and Bagger will be missed. I'm told she's up for a vote on Monday for a position on maritime, and she's going to be serving another important function for the state.
Next question's Evan with Daily News.
Hey guys, how you doing? On LaGuardia and access to LaGuardia, in Monday's report, a lot of the near-term and potential far-term solutions are reliant on working with other agencies. In the immediate near term, and I know we said 60 to 90 days for a report, but in the immediate near term, what can the Port Authority do unilaterally to improve access?
Well, that was the point of the report. I mean, we laid out 14 different options. There was engineering, construction firms that went through in meticulous detail and looked at each of those options. We published a 450-page report, which indicated their analysis of it. As you know, we brought in 3 independent, really international experts on transportation, and they made their recommendations, again, in their panel report. So everything is in the public domain. It's completely transparent, and we will be moving forward on their recommendations. They will come back to the board for a planning authorization, and in terms of a deep dive at that point, in terms of how we can implement and what it takes to implement their recommendations, that will be part of the planning process.
Forgive me, I guess I'm talking a little bit more brass tacks in terms of, the MTA runs the current shuttle bus, the portion of the BQE that would have a dedicated bus lane under some of the recommendations, that would be under state DOT jurisdiction. A lot of this seems to be part of the network of various agencies that touch upon this. So going forward, is there anything that the Port Authority can say, up front, this is something that we're going to be working on independent of the other agencies?
In this world, you can't work independent of other agencies. Yes, we're dependent. We do it all the time. I can't think of a Port Authority project, which is even on our property, which isn't done with full coordination with other agencies, and that's how we intend to move forward with this.
Moving to our virtual questions, we have Larry Higgs from New Jersey Advanced Media. Larry?
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, Larry.
Great. Two questions. First one is about the Newark Airport access. Maybe you could describe for people what this is going to do for them, getting over from the neighborhood, and what kind of job access you anticipated having. What sort of infrastructures envisioned out there?
Well, before we have Jim Heitman go into some more detail, and you heard, I don't know if you heard the meeting, Larry, one of the residents talked about that it took 60 minutes to go from South Ward to Penn Station, and some of our calculations from Dayton, it was 40 minutes to 7 minutes or 9 minutes. So you heard Commissioners Richardson and Eve talk about how important it is to folks in Elizabeth and Newark to have an opportunity to go either to a job, get a job, whether it be airport or have transportation out of Penn, without having to go on a bus for 40 minutes, which is, an hour and a half round trip. Really significant with this new project, with Jim Heitman will go into some detail as to what exactly it'll link up to, whether it's walking, bus, car, or bicycle. Jim, just talk about what this project really means and what it means in terms of job opportunities or linkage in terms of transportation.
Yeah, so what this provides is an extension of the bridge that connects to both the NEC station and the airport's rail link station. It extends it to the west, and then there's a vertical circulation down to the ground where we will have pedestrian drop-offs via public transportation, buses, taxis, or personal vehicles, bike lanes, bike parking, and that leads out to Freeland-Heisen Avenue, which provides direct access to the South Ward and Dayton neighborhoods. We've been out with the community on our Newark vision planning, and this is the #1 topic that's brought up by the community for those jobs: access to the airport, access to all of the jobs at the airport, and also then access into New York and Newark and all along the NEC corridor. So it's very well received by the community, and we're really looking forward to moving forward with it and getting that support at the airport.
And Jim, to the last point that Jim is making, look, we're making an application for, I think, about $45 million in grants. If the overall that could take up to a third of this project, and if we get that funding in place, I think our projection is 2025 to have this up and running, which in terms of transportation projects or Port Authority projects is a relatively quick period of time, and those individuals will see immediate relief within the foreseeable future. Tom?
All righty. And second part of the question has to do with the PATH extension. What exactly is the future of the PATH airport extension, and could PATH be extended into the airport as an air train replacement?
Well, in terms of the future, it's still on the table, obviously, but when this was conceived, it was viewed as a $1.7 billion project. $700 million was anticipated we would get either grant or some other funding mechanism. That did not take place. So we have not written this off or discarded it. It is still on the list to hopefully get done. But this path that excuse the words, this project that we're going through with the NAC is real. It's immediate. It's identifiable. It's an $140 million project, which is doable. In terms of the longer term path, we're hopeful that if we could secure some funds, there'll be a pathway for it. Jim, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just to add a comment about extending PATH to Newark, that was looked at a number of years ago, and the technical complexities that go along with that to get to the airport and to provide interterminal connections, that was ruled out in favor of the air train replacing it, and in the way that we're moving forward with right now.
Thanks, Larry.
Next question is Lorena Mongelli with Newsday.
Thanks, Jim.
Hi, sorry about that. This is about LGA access, the Q70 bus, those improvements, and then the electric bus. Just a couple of funding streams, ridership goals, which I know was addressed in the report, and also just a timeline for when we'll actually see these projects come to fruition. I know there's lots of things to be done beforehand, but.
Well, all the details are going to be worked out in the planning process. As we've said, that will come to the Board of Commissioners for funding to carry out those planning aspects. And that's really when, I guess the other thing in terms of timing is if you go to the report, the engineering firms that worked on the report made rough time estimates. We have to double check them, but the Q70 improvements. I believe they gave a 2 to 3 year timeline, and in terms of the shuttle bus, a 4 to 5 year time plan. And what governs those time plans is there are construction projects that are elements of both bus services. So it's hard to put a precise timeline. The observation I would make about the Q70 is that those improvements, they're not linked together. So we will be working in the context of the planning process to put each individual improvement on its own timeline. But that needs to happen in the context of the planning process.
I'm not sure if we have him on the line, but, oh, sorry, Lorena, are you done?
Yes, thank you.
Just check if we have on the line Jeff Yapalatter.
Anybody else, Tom?
Moving on to Zach Griff with Point Sky.
Tom?
Is that Jeff?
Yeah, hey, how are you?
Hey,
Thank
Jeff.
you.
Hey, Jeff, got a question?
Hey, how are you guys? So, first of all, I really want to thank Airport Boys and Schneps Media. Give Huntley a great hand. I've known him for 7 years, got to know him, and he's a great guy, and we wish him all well. I do want to make one point, Mr. Chairman, though. I think Queens owns him because he was a favorite son. He went to Otis Martin High School, if I remember correctly, and he spent so much time in the community. So we really like the guy.
I think everybody wants to claim him.
We'll have
He
that
lives-
argument in April.
He lives in New Jersey, but he's a Queens boy.
And it's a great guy. But my main question is, Kenny mentioned, went to one of the brokers meetings last night. Great to see him and Terry Rizzuto from the airport supporting the cargo community. Regarding the request for qualifications back in 2020 for the North Cargo area, I'm not clear what the next step that is. Maybe you can help me out with that.
Well, that sits with the aviation department. Has been working on a broad cargo strategy. They've been deeply involved in trying to put together an RFP that could go out and be sure we have industry input and indeed community input. But at this point, that's a work in progress within the aviation department.
Thanks, Jeff.
There's no time frame. Yeah.
I'm cautious about putting timelines on things. So I guess what I would say is at this point, they're working hard on it. Hopefully they will get out, as I say, either an RFI or an RFP, but I cannot give you a timeline at this point.
Next question, Zach Griff with the Point Sky. Zach?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Question on Terminal A at Newark. Is that second phase still on track for being finished and completed and open this summer?
It is. We don't have a precise date yet, but that is definitely not only the target, but it is on that schedule.
Yeah, I took a visit out to actually, I walked they're working it, and I'll tell you, they're close, but we fully anticipate by summer, late summer or so, this will be completed. Multi-phase, both interior, exterior, but I think we're really close.
Great. And going to LaGuardia for a second, is there ever a future in which you would reconsider the idea of extending a train to the airport there as opposed to just going all in on busing?
Well, I urge you to read the report. The full report's 450 pages. That may be a little daunting, but the executive summary is pretty accessible at 29 pages. We had two sets of independent analysts look at the possibility of either a subway line or a light rail line coming from the west, meaning coming from a subway connection or a Long Island Railroad connection. And the difficulty, the engineering difficulty of getting around the southern end of the north-south runway, which the airport calls 422, are the engineers simply so far could not, after an enormous amount of work, could not identify a way to build either a subway line or a light rail service that gets by the end of that runway. So, and the cost estimates associated with even trying were an order of magnitude above what had previously been budgeted. So I would just say that at least at this point in time, there is no way to build it, and the cost estimates are so high that one would have to, there really isn't a way within the current capital plan to finance it. So I would say in the near term, there's just no way to do it.
Last question, Skylar Woodhouse with Bloomberg. Skylar.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to ask about, inflation, labor costs, supply chains. Could, I guess, any other projects see any sort of delay or raise in, budget costs, as obviously there's kind of a lot of uncertainty right now? What are you all planning for?
We're taking a very close look at the construction marketplace. It almost certainly demands very, very careful, what I would call go-to-market strategies. The fact is the construction marketplace is a very difficult environment. It's not limited to New York. It's not limited to New Jersey. It's a national question. It has the components of inflation. Particularly, it has supply chain challenges when you're talking about technical systems in all their complexity. So our experience has been that there are ways dealing with smaller packages, looking carefully at what they entail, but it takes a real strategy, and that's what we're doing right now. There was an NYU study that was just put out in terms of looking at transit costs, and they made a number of recommendations in terms of ways to manage those costs. We're looking very, very carefully at what they came up with and what was an extensive international survey. So that's going to be our strategy, which is that project by project, how do you package them, how do you move them forward, and manage what is a very, very difficult construction cost environment.
All set, Tom?
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. See you next month. Thank you.